All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pitch Breakfast 2021. We survived 2020, and now we are back at you with an event where we're going to be trying a few new things. And close this. Trying a few new things and really just moving forward with everything that we've learned from the last, 8-9 months of doing virtual events here. And we've got some new things to share with you today that we hope and we think that you're going to really like. So first, I want to go ahead and introduce myself, Juan Garzon. I'm the Executive Director of Innovate Charlotte and also Director here at Pitch Breakfast. And my co-host / timekeeper, Laura Smales, Assistant Director of Ventureprise, is going to be on here as well. And we're going to be introducing some, like I said, some new program items that we haven't tried before. So we're really excited to share that with you. So to give you an idea of what today's event's going to look like and how it's a little bit different than some of our other events in the past, we're going to kick off here in just a few minutes with a new segment that we're calling Get the Meeting. So getting the meeting is where companies have an opportunity to practice their elevator pitch and just get feedback on whether or not that elevator pitch is enough to get a meeting. And so we'll have our panel, which we'll introduce here in just a minute, that will have an opportunity to give them a little bit of feedback, really just say, hey, we would take a meeting, after hearing this pitch, or, we're missing this element, or here's something that you could work on to improve those chances. So we do want to invite any founders that are out there, if you have, if you're thinking about raising money or you want to practice your own elevator pitch, reach out to us, go to the website and apply, or shoot us an email and let us know so that we can include you in a future segment of Getting the Meeting. After that, we'll have 2 featured pitches. So we've got the first by Global Mobile Finance and another by Craftum that we will be doing at 8:50 and 9:10. We should wrap up with these at 9:30, where we'll get into, as many of you now know, the networking portion, where we break everybody out into different Zoom rooms and you get a chance to meet the founders, the panelists, and so forth. So we're excited about this. We definitely want your feedback. Let us know if this format works, what you like, what you don't like, and so forth. All right, so with Pitch Breakfast, we like to say that we're the event where entrepreneurs pitch and panelists enrich. And these events are made possible by our sponsors and our partners. And our sponsors for 2021 include Spengler and Agins, who've been with us since the very beginning. They are attorneys to Charlotte's startup community, and they work with entrepreneurs and local businesses on everything from formation to early stage funding. Fantastic people to talk to if you've got any sort of legal questions. We also get support from NK Patent Law, who are attorneys for all things patents, information technology, intellectual property, trademarks, anything that has to do with ideas that you own. If you've got a question about anything like that, Ani over at NK Patent Law is definitely the person that you want to talk to. They've helped lots of companies here in Charlotte with their IP needs. We also have Dual Boot Partners. Dual Boot Partners are fantastic partners to many startups and growth companies in the Charlotte area. They've got a fantastic team, several of them who are on these meetings and are great connectors for anybody who is looking for a technology partner or really looking for any sort of resource around technology. They'll work with you to help build your MVP all the way up through your finished product. They'll work with you on changing platforms, pretty much anything tech related. They're going to be great people to talk to. And last but certainly not least, we've got Powderly Butchnick. Powderly Butchnick CPAs, they're our CPAs. They always are fantastic with any questions around bookkeeping, taxes, things like that. So we highly appreciate the work that we get from Powderly Butchnick, and know that you will too if you need any kind of CPA help. And last but not least, we do have a disclaimer, and our disclaimer here is that Pitch Breakfast is an event that is educational in nature. The companies that are pitching are practicing, not conducting a securities offering. None of the companies pitching intend for this to be a general solicitation. The translation there is when you hear them pitch for a certain amount of money or a certain need, they're actually practicing their pitch and not actually soliciting you directly. if you have an interest in any of the companies that you hear, you're free to schedule a meeting with them or connect with them directly after the event. All right. Now, today we do our quarterly Idea Fund Partners event. Our Idea Fund Partners event is once a quarter. We'll invite members of the Idea Fund Partners group over to our event. Today, we have two of our favorite panelists. First, Chris Langford, who is a partner at Idea Fund Partners and has been a fantastic mentor to lots of startups in the Charlotte area. Chris, welcome. Feel free to turn on your camera. And then we also have Rob Cummings. Rob Cummings is an operating partner of Idea Fund Partners and also managing director at Falfurious. So Rob, Chris, thank you guys for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
And much applause. I'll be the sole person representing everyone.
Or we'll do the silent applause, the silent Zoom applause. And all right, so we're going to dive into this new segment, and this is going to work like this. We're going to have 3 companies who are going to practice their elevator pitch. Each one of them has 90 seconds to practice their pitch. They're not going to have slides. This is literally an elevator pitch. So if one of them got into a long elevator with one of you guys and you said, so tell me about what you do, here's how they would explain what it is that their business is all about. Each one of them is going to give the pitch one after the other. So 1, 2, and 3. After that, we're going to have about 5 minutes where Chris and Rob, you guys can give all 3 of them sort of collective feedback on, here's what works, here's what didn't work. Would you get a meeting, or, is there something that you might want to refine before you would do that? So does that make sense?
Sense to me.
All right, here we go.
So first up, we've got Luceni Chroma with Well-Rounded, who's going to turn on his camera now. And Laura is going to keep time here, make sure that we keep you to that 90 seconds. And Luceni, whenever you're ready, go ahead and start your elevator pitch.
Great. So the stay-at-home order is indirectly promoting a sedentary lifestyle, which will lead to the number of Americans with chronic diseases over the next few years. Now, according to the CDC, 133 million Americans have at least one chronic disease, and this number is expected to reach 171 million by 2025. Additionally, employee absences and on-the-job productivity losses due to poor health cause employers nearly $230 billion each year. My name is Luceni Chroma, and I'm the founder of Well-Rounded, a digital wellness platform designed to encourage healthy habits in your organizations. Now, we offer 2 products, a wellness dashboard, providing your organization with a high-level aggregate view of the overall health of your organization, as well as a mobile client where we pull health data from health and wellness apps of your employees to provide them with an overall wellness score on how well-rounded they are. Now, what we offer your business is the opportunity to lower incurred healthcare costs and boost employee morale and increase productivity in your organization. Our potential customers are medium to large businesses with remote workers, specifically in the Southeast, as well as colleges and universities. Now, the global wellness market is around $50 billion, and there's a lot of competitors in there, 3 of which being Version Plus, Wellable, and Learable. Now, our advantage is our aggregated health dashboard, our internal marketing campaign, and our modern design. Now, wellness platforms aren't designed solely for saving monies, but also for improving the health of your employees, thereby benefiting their families and local communities and a society as a whole. Thank you for your time.
Awesome.
That's it.
Virtual applause there for Luceni, right on time. I think you beat the buzzer. As everybody, you guys can see, that 90 seconds goes by very quickly. So we'll give just a second here for Chris and Rob to write a few notes. And again, we're going to hold questions and feedback until after all 3 have pitched.
And Brian, if you want to go ahead and turn on your camera.
Ready, Juan?
Just a second. We're giving just a couple seconds there for Chris and Rob to write any notes or questions that they might have had for Luceni. Cool. All right, so up next, we've got Brian Dugan with DuJourn.
Good morning. Thank you, Juan. Let me start by just asking everyone a question. As a business traveler, has this ever happened to you? You leave town on business, you spend a couple days visiting with clients, making sales calls, and then you fly home and you tell yourself, job well done for the great meeting you just had with a key client. At some point after returning from that trip, you connect with another business colleague who says to you, wait, You were just in Chicago last week. So was I. How did we not know that? There are approximately 15 million business travelers in the US alone, and they're all excitedly waiting for the pandemic to be behind us. And the two dimensions of Zoom calls that we all use so heavily today will never replace the experience of human interaction and bonding. DuJourn is a business traveler's membership-based application designed to uncover coincidental travel plans of connected people in advance of their trips so that they can convert that coincidence into meaningful face-to-face interactions. Let's assume you have a key contact in Dallas, for example, you visit a couple times a year. Imagine getting a text 2 weeks ahead of your trip to New York City that your Dallas colleague also booked a flight to New York that coincides with your plans. Think of the value that comes with that information. Less wasted time, more meetings per trip, and improved ROI for your business, and in the aggregate, a more efficient business traveler. Pretty cool, right?
Awesome. I think we beat the buzzer again. So fantastic, Brian.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Good job. All right. And we're going to give Chris and Rob here just a second to write down any notes while Dave, you can go ahead and turn your camera on. Get yourself ready, psych yourself out. And just a second. And again, guys, you know, this is a new format. This is something that we're messing around with here based on some of the feedback that we got from everybody on the survey a couple months ago. And so, you know, let us know what you think. Let us know if this is something that would be helpful. If you would like to try again, feel free to send a message, shoot us an email, apply online to go ahead and practice your elevator pitch. All right, with that, Dave, it looks like you are all set to start your elevator pitch.
Thank you, everybody, for your time this morning. My name is Dave Mason, and this is Holler, the fastest way to connect in person and online. So businesses and professionals are trying to connect with people in many different ways, and there's this proliferation of personal information, social channels, and online destinations, and sharing them is really inefficient and cumbersome, especially through traditional business cards. Holler is an instant engagement tool that acts as a digital business card with CRM integration. It's a platform that immediately puts what you want to share in the hands of the person you want to connect with. We launched Holler in September of 2020 with some organic online videos showcasing professionals within our target market using Holler. Our audience immediately reacted, and throughout Q4, we secured $30K in revenue, onboarded over 1,100 users, and have captured so far 38,500 individual profile shares. We now have multiple business accounts with multiple users and are developing the roadmap to build the features our customers have already confirmed they're willing to pay for. My co-founder and I have collectively invested $50K in 36 man months and are not taking any salary. Our next step is a friends and family angel round to secure $500K to develop those business features, increase our marketing efforts, and secure working capital. That way we can move towards our goal of becoming a tiered SaaS business. Thank you.
Awesome. I love it. All three of you guys got in under the time. That is fantastic. Fantastic. That does not always happen. All right. So with that, Luceni, Brian, Dave, if you want to turn your cameras on, we're going to give Chris and Rob an opportunity there to give you all some feedback, some points, maybe some clarifying questions, and really just see would that pitch get a meeting?
Sure. Well, first of all, I mean, good job to everybody. Trying to cram everything into 90 seconds is exceptionally difficult. And I always find that one of the reasons that we do this format, you know, in addition to the other format, is that they are substantively different conversations and different, you know, it's an entirely different pitch. So, you know, one is thanks everyone for participating and kind of going up here and kind of giving a whirl of it. You know, I'll give sort of a general consensus, right? Like, I would say that Dave is the only guy I'd give a meeting to, and let me start by the reason for it. He's the only person that I know what he wants. Like, he just told me he's got an angel round, he's raising $500,000. So I know he's got an ask. He's also the only person that told me anything about the traction of this business. So I was immediately able to know the product's real, it's launched, people are using it, there's revenue, he's put money in the business, and he's raising an angel round. Like, I can immediately, when I hear what Dave told me, even though I probably know a lot less about his product than the other two people, I immediately can underwrite whether or not he's a candidate for me. Oh, you're raising a 500,000 now. Technically 500,000 smaller than my fund, but let's just say that was in my sweet spot. I could immediately know, I could tell Dave in that elevator either, yeah, man, shoot me an email. That sounds interesting. We want to dig in on it. Or I could say 500,000 is too small of a round for us. Why don't you, but I probably would say something to him like, why don't you shoot me an email and I might be able to connect you with some folks that do like an angel round. So I think the one piece of feedback is in 90 seconds. I think both, Lucini and Brian, both of you, you tried to frame up the problem statement, right? So like when you have a 10-minute, 15, 30-minute pitch, arguably one of the most important things is to make sure that I fully, like, viscerally understand the problem you're solving. In 90 seconds, I kind of feel like your best bet is to just get to the, like, what's the one-liner of your product? You might be able to read my face as to whether or not I get it instantly, but I feel like with both of you guys, your one-liner, when you got to it, I knew enough about what the business did to make a decision of whether it kind of fit my investment mandate. So I probably could have said like, oh, okay, that's interesting or not. I'd say each one of you spent somewhere between a third or more than a third framing the problem. And I think in response to that is why maybe you didn't get to the ability to tell me about your traction, yourself, or what you're doing. So that's kind of like my high level. I'll let Rob jump in and we can probably get in some more details, but I'm curious to get Rob's sort of 30,000 foot off the cuff view.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Good job, guys. Everybody, was able to stay under that minute and a half, and it does go by quick. So I'm going to take the Charlotte Angel Fund approach. Whenever we have entrepreneurs pitch, we always start with the positives and talk about all the positives about the company, and then we talk about some constructive criticisms. So let me start there, and I'll just go through each one. Lucini, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. First and foremost, digital wellness is very important right now. Everybody's thinking about it, so that immediately grabbed my attention. I also like, I call it "Why do we win?" But you had a segment in your pitch where you rattled off 3 points of why you're going to win as a platform. So that was intriguing. Brian, storytelling. I love storytelling. You told a story that I get because I've been that guy traveling to New York, and would love to see some old college buddies while I'm up there. So that immediately grabbed my attention because I can certainly relate to that use case. And then Mason, exactly what Chris said, traction. I think traction is one of the most underrated parts of a pitch. Not only did you tell us dollars, but you told us users. And I think sometimes people get concerned over traction, that they may be pre-revenue, and so they don't want to talk about traction. But traction is more than just revenue. It's number of users. It's the number of beta companies, whatever it may be. So you were able to hone in on that specifically. On some constructive criticism, again, going in the same order, and Lucini, you went really fast. I was having trouble, and I know you were trying to stay under that minute and a half, but I was like, whoa, my head was spinning. And even those 3 points as to why you win, I was trying to write those down real quick, and I only got 2 of them out of the 3 just because it was going by really, really quick. Brian, I'd love to know how you make money. You didn't go into that. Again, I think this is a nice to have tool. For me, it would be a nice to have. The question is how much am I willing to pay for a monthly subscription? If it's $50 a month, I'm probably out. If it's a couple bucks a month, that's okay, $5 a month. That's interesting. I would have loved to have known that. And then Mason, Dave, I admit I cheat before these, and I go out to website and check things out.
you were just profiled in Charlotte Inno. So I read the profile a couple of days ago and I went back and looked at it. I'm a little confused as exactly what the platform is. And so maybe some clarification there. Is it a digital business card? Or I think in the Inno article, I came away thinking that, you know, if I wanted to demo a new MVP website that I've stood up, that I could share that immediately. And maybe it's all of those things combined, but my head's spinning a little bit as to exactly what it was. So let me pause there. And I don't know, maybe we go to the entrepreneurs just for some response to the feedback from both of us. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, let's go ahead and just get a couple quick responses.
Yes. Actually, yeah, if we could do just, if we want to go in the same order, Lucindy can go ahead and start off, but try to keep it pretty brief and then we'll wrap up this segment, but thanks.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the feedback, everybody. I was trying to like condense I think for where I am, sort of structuring the, like making sure that the problem is kind of fleshed out is what I've kind of been focusing all of the last few weeks. Also, like I'm early where I'm still in R&D and I'm having to interview wellness directors as well as people who have like, people who actually have had these corporate wellness mobile apps. So I don't have traction at the time, which is why I did not bring that up, or a paid customer. I'm still like customer interviews, user testing. As far as me speaking fast, 90 seconds, I try to like trim out as much as possible. But yeah, I'll condense it over time.
Let me just do one quick response to that. I think another thing to remember is, one, never be ashamed of where you're at. Everyone starts somewhere. And every day we talk to someone from, I wrote this thing down on a napkin to I've got $1 million or $2 million of revenue. And all of those are great, places to be. I think just helping us frame to know that. But then the second thing is, if the ask isn't for money, like if I know where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish, like I think the other thing is if you get in front of an investor, a good investor will tell you whether they can help you or not, or whether they have time. But if you were to say, hey, I'm looking for intros to people like this, that's another thing we're able to ask or help with. So I think, one, don't be afraid to tell us where you're at, even if it's not what you think we want to hear. And if there are certain asks, even if they're not money, I think just, surface them. And we're usually pretty good at saying whether or not that's something we can help with. Awesome.
Yeah, and for me, guys, I appreciate the feedback, all really good stuff. And I can certainly trim back the storytelling piece of it, which I think, to Rob's point, is important just to establish connectivity in people's brains that it's relevant. But can trim that for sure and get into the how do we make money and the ask very, very succinctly and concisely in that short time frame as well. And certainly would do that next time around. So appreciate the feedback for that.
Perfect. And then Dave, if you'd like to wrap it up.
Sure. I'd actually like to thank both of you for the feedback. And Rob, you really hit the nail in the head with what is Holler. We struggle with that day to day. That's something that we've fought on multiple times, not seditiously, just going back and forth. Like, how do we describe this to someone in a way where they see beyond the use of a digital business card? Because we see it as being more than a digital business card, and we're seeing our users use it more than just a digital business card. We've seen restaurants putting it on tables or at the cash wrap to engage with customers. I mean, there's this layer of interaction that these businesses, not just people to people, but businesses to people, can have. And we don't know, like, what language can we use to better describe that? I think that's a constant struggle for us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Great job for the first time doing that segment. Great job, Lucindy, Dave, and Brian. Thank you so much.
All right. And again, this is the first time that we try that. Give us your feedback. Let us know in the chat. And we're going to move on to the next segment. But before we do, let's make sure this is on. Yep. Before we do, we want to tell you about a program that Ventureprise, a new cohort that Ventureprise has coming up here in a bit. Laura?
Perfect. Yeah, Ventureprise Launch, which is our foundational program at Ventureprise, will begin on February 17th. We're currently taking applications. It is a 6-week customer discovery program. It'll be on Wednesday evenings for a few hours each week. So we kick it off on the 17th. We skip a week and then we go for the next 5 Wednesdays. So it actually wraps up on March 31st. But basically really walking you through the interview process, customer discovery, finding that problem solution fit. My time here at Pitch Breakfast, that's what I constantly hear from all of the panelists is, you know, what problem are you solving? Who are you solving it for? How big's your market? Those are things that we really walk you through and help you identify. And looking forward to seeing some of your applications. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. We can do one-on-one talks about any questions that you have about the program. It's for all stages. We have different varying degrees of where businesses are. So you're not, you know, we want to make sure it's a good fit, but you're never too early or too late to try out. So I'm looking forward to any questions and having conversations with you.
We'll drop that link here in the chat so that if you want to learn more, you can click on that link. So thanks, Laura. And now we're going to go on to our longer, sort of deeper dive presentations. These are going to be 6 minutes each. The companies are going to have slides, and we'll have about 10 minutes or so of feedback and Q&A with the panel after each one. So up first in our standard presentations is Sandra Johnson with G Remit. Sandra, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I'll stop sharing. And we've got yours there. So again, we're going to do about 6 minutes, Sandra, for your presentation, and then we'll move on to Chris and Rob for feedback.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Sandra K. Johnson. I am a hidden figure, having been the first Black woman to earn a PhD in computer engineering. And I want to share with you my latest endeavor, G-Remit, which is a relationship-driven remittance mobile app focusing on Africa initially. So today there are over 200 million people living in the West who send money regularly to over 800 million families in emerging countries. And the funds are used to help them pay for goods and services and make ends meet. This is a $550 billion market in terms of funds moved. In sub-Saharan Africa, our initial target, it's a $46 billion market. And for the top 5 corridors that we plan to focus on initially shown here, it's an $8 billion market. However, there's some issues associated with remittance to sub-Saharan Africa. The fees are the most costly. The vast majority of the recipients are unbanked. They do not have credit cards or bank accounts. And in some instances, the transfers are very slow. There are some recipients who live in remote areas, and it's difficult for them to reach a pickup location. And for those who do, it's very dangerous for them to carry large amounts of money. The most significant issue that we believe is the fact that most remittance service providers do not focus on building customer loyalty. And studies have shown that those who do can increase their sales growth by 85% and their market profit margins by more than 25%, as shown here for some very well-known brands. And so that is what we focus on in G-Remit. But first, the mobile app. Users, which are our customers, initially register as a one-time registration. And then in order to transfer funds, they input the recipient's information, initiate the transfer, and then receives an acknowledgement when the transfer starts and also when it ends. Mobile money, the funds are deposited into the mobile money accounts of the recipients. This is a financial account that's associated with a mobile phone service, again, because most do not have bank accounts. It's very popular in many emerging countries. The funds are used to pay for goods and services. The focus that we have is on building the relationship with the customer. We have developed a patent pending technology that we call lightweight remittance analytics that enables us to build this customer loyalty. We use the analytics to gain insights for multiple recurring transactions and also to dynamically enable the customer to create financial accounts, and other actions that are very attractive to them. We've done some customer discovery. 97% of those we spoke to are very excited about this particular offering. We also enable the customers to donate part of the transfer fee, which is how we generate revenue, to nonprofits. And again, the customers are very excited about this possibility. I have 26 years with IBM. Part of that time I spent in the Middle East and Africa. I know that region. I use mobile money in that region and understand the culture and the importance of mobile money. Here is the rest of my team, board members, consultants, as well as advisors and mentors. The mobile app, the minimum viable product, has been developed, and we plan to launch the pilot for this MVP in about April timeframe. We plan to solicit 200 to 300 early adopters to use this. They are residents of the state of Georgia because that's where we have a license, sending to Kenya, and after a couple of months getting feedback from them, we plan to make the app generally available initially, again, to Georgia residents, and then increasing the number of states and the number of countries in which recipients live. So the second country we plan to focus on is Ghana. The ask, we are actually in the middle of a local public offering, which is a North Carolina offering. We're asking for $110,000 in investment. And the reason why is because we spent considerable time a few months ago speaking to many investors, kept getting feedback about needing market traction. So we're focusing on getting the funds to get that market traction by having the pilot and a couple of months of general availability. The details you see here are of the public offering, and I'm more than happy to share with you details for anyone who's interested. And so that is GRemit, a relationship-driven remittance mobile app for Africa. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have about this matter. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, Sandra. That was a great job on that presentation. And now we're going to go on to Chris and Rob for feedback and questions.
Okay.
Awesome. You want to start this time, Rob?
Sure, I'll go ahead and start. Senator, nice job. I stayed in the 5 minutes and very, very well spoken. Let's see where to start. So everybody knows that, I kind of have my 8 things that I look for in a pitch. I think you hit 5 of them. And that was team, market, problem you're solving. You did touch on revenue model, although about transaction fees, although I would have liked to have understood some more detail there, exactly how you make money. And you also have your ask. The items that you didn't hit, the barrier to entry. So I personally had a development team over in India, and for a period of time we used Zoom, XOOM. And I know in the last couple of years, Zoom was acquired by PayPal. The immediate, when I saw your company come up last night on the list of pitchers, the immediate question I raised was, why hasn't Zoom gone to Africa? And I did a little bit of research. It looks like Zoom and another company that I see that's popular is TransferWise, and both have do transfers to South Africa, but maybe not to the continent as a whole. So I'd really like to understand how you're differentiated. And then the big boys like a Zoom that's owed by PayPal, why don't they transfer money to the rest of Africa? That was the immediate question that I had raised last night. And then, I would love to understand the competition. I named 2, Zoom and TransferWise. TransferWise is one of the platforms that one of our portfolio companies use to pay contractors abroad. But I just would love to understand not only how you're different than those 2 platforms, but being bigger than you are, why haven't they gone to Africa or Ghana for that matter, since you mentioned that. So that would be my immediate feedback. Chris?
Yeah, I'd start by saying it's certainly a very interesting thing you've got an impressive background, and I kind of do the same thing as write out the things that I want to hear and see if they get filled in. I think understanding the problem was certainly there. One, the solution was a little bit like opaque to me, in the sense that, like, I mean, I understood the mobile app, et cetera, but one of the things that I asked myself was, okay, you're targeting X amount of people. How many of them are unbanked? But then how many of them have cell phones, right? Like, I guess my immediate reaction would be, if you live in remote sub-Saharan Africa, do you have a cell? Like, I don't know the answer to that, right? I'm sure that's something that you know a lot better than I do, but is it more accessible to do it via mobile, like, versus a bank?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, just having that kind of like data, very easy for me to go, oh, like, only 1 million people have a bank account, but 40 million have a cell phone. I'm just making numbers up, but like, that helps me put in perspective why mobile is better than, say, a traditional fund transfer or bank. I like the idea of the market size. It was very easy for me to picture how many people we're talking about, the average amount of funds that are flowing, and the fees that are generally generated. I don't know if you're planning on doing a market. I guess how you make money is still a little bit unsure to me, because 9.3 was the percent you quoted. My guess is, I couldn't tell if you're trying to beat that and make it cheaper, and therefore technically reduce your market size, or are you going to do the same thing but just make it easier? So I think that's one part of the product. I wasn't sure if it's going to be cheaper or easier. I like the fact that you were really clear about where the product is today and what your next steps are and what 2021 looks like for you. That helps me tremendously understand that. What I didn't understand was the expectation of how that was going to translate into revenue over that time. So one time, as an investor, our expectation is we're going to put money in, someone else is going to have to put money in. So not only am I underwriting my money, I'm usually underwriting the next set of money that's going to come in, and I need to make sure that you'll probably hit the kind of metrics that get the next set of money excited. And I'd say just the last comment on it was, you had a very specific ask and structure, which was 110,000 of non-voting common equity. And it was 75 cents a share. The two things I couldn't quite get to was, how did you get to the idea of common equity? I mean, I guess you're looking for retail investors, because I would think the average institutional investor is going to balk at the idea of a common equity at this point. And I don't know what 75 cents means from a valuation, like a broader sense valuation. So knowing a price per share is interesting, but knowing how to contextualize that within the value of the overall enterprise is helpful as well. But overall, I think it's interesting. There's a lot of great stuff there. And I think there's enough to pique my interest I mean, if it was in my check size range, it would be something that I would be interested in learning more about.
Great, thanks so much. We have about 4 minutes left, so I wanted to give Sandra some time to respond to some of the comments from Chris and Rob.
Okay, yes. Lots of points brought up, so I'm going to attempt to respond to most of them. Yes, the vast majority of the citizens of emerging countries are unbanked, but they have mobile phones, even those in the middle of nowhere. When I lived in Kenya, some of my coworkers had grandmas you couldn't get to because they were so remote, but they were calling on WhatsApp. So mobile phones, that is the reason why mobile phone services created mobile money, because there are more citizens with mobile phones than bank accounts. In terms of the revenue is a percentage of the transfer fee. The 9.3%, the highest in the world, is sub-Saharan Africa. We plan to initially get the fee down to 5%. Initially, it's going to be 7% because of some initial costs, but over time, we want to get it down to 5%. The value that we bring is the fact that we enable customers to not only send money to family members and friends, but to donate to nonprofits that we initially will choose that work to transform lives, to teach people how to cook instead of just giving them food. And this is something that is very attractive to our customer base, which is a segment of the market, those that are expats, those that are immigrants, first and second generation immigrants, students, etc. They're very excited about this. The reason why we came up with the 110,000, I think I mentioned that, but in terms of the valuation, the LPO is a $2 million valuation. The reason why is non-voting, because from talking to advisors and the legal team, most angel investors are not really excited about a small number of small investors. And so going back and forth with the legal team, they advise that it's best to offer this because it's relatively small amounts as non-voting shares. So that's the reason why we decided to do that. Why the others are not in sub-Saharan Africa, if you know any history about that region, Africa is always the last continent that most businesses focus on. They usually go to South Africa first, but when you look at the rest of Africa, all of sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa is the country that is more like Europe than any of the other countries in Africa. So that's why there are some that are in sub-Saharan Africa now. However, this is a huge market that I'm aware of. And so we want to focus on this region first because number one, it has the highest fee, so we can lower the cost. And number two, we can get in and get some traction with our value add before the major players. We also have this patent pending technology that we can use to have conversations with other players about licensing or potentially buying the company at some point in the future.
So Sandra, is there anyone else that's in the other parts of Africa? Any other competitors?
There are other competitors like SendWave is one company. The difference, the value that we provide, many of the customers that we spoke to as part of the customer discovery were aware of SendWave. They do not offer, the value add of enabling customers to put a percentage of the fee into their own account or to nonprofits. This is something that's very attractive to our customer base, and they are willing to pay a premium up to 2% to do just that.
And I think that kind of is the last thing, a lot of great data that you were able to put there, a lot of that probably needs to go in. And I think understanding that point of differentiation with their competition, both the idea that you're going to do it cheaper and that, I would not have my original response to that element of it was like, that seems like a weird feature, like why that seems like complicating, but for you, the ability to explain that that's a real differentiating and important feature to the people who are going to use it and is probably going to attract users is something to kind of pull forward. So, but overall, I think it's super interesting. So I applaud what you're doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Chris, Rob, thank you guys so much. Sandra, thank you so much for your pitch. And we're going to move on here to pitch number 2. But before we do, 2 quick comments. First, we've got a few people that have joined on here, joined on a few minutes ago. And just a quick reminder, we now start at 8:30, not 9 o'clock. We want to try to wrap up with everything, including networking, by 10 o'clock so you can get on your day. So this year in 2021, we're starting Pitch Breakfast events at 8:30 instead of 9. Second note here on the slide, you've got the Packard Place Public House. The next event, and I believe it's going to be the last Packard Place Public House, at least the last one in that format, will be on Wednesday, January 20th at 5:15 p.m. So you can learn more about that at meetup.com/Packard Place. All right, with that, we've got Caleb Musser with Craftum. So Caleb, if you want to turn on your camera, I'm going to stop sharing here. You can go ahead and start sharing yours. Make sure that that is working.
Yep.
All right, Laura, we'll start the timer whenever you begin.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, guys. I'm Caleb, founder of Craftum, and Rob and Chris, feel free to interject as I go through this. Conversational flow, I think, would actually kind of help me go through this. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and I'll address them. So the problem that we're solving is one that maybe you haven't thought of before, but it's basically how are companies shipping this just corporate products to their remote workforces now. So this is how you can see here in my slide. This is how people used to ship, corporate products, equipment, gifts, swag, all kinds of supplies before the pandemic. So a supplier would ship it to the company's office, and then it would get distributed, to employees or drop shipped out from there to, prospects, customers, and employees. What happens though when no one's at those offices anymore? So for example, let's take a idea fund portfolio company like Pendo, right? So Pendo's based in Raleigh. They've got 400, 500 employees there. Now those people are no longer in the office. How do they distribute, prospecting gifts, employee welcome packages, all the computers, all those things that they need to get to their folks. So what we found is this is actually how it works. And this may seem crazy, but we've heard stories of, people sending 500 t-shirts and enlisting their kids to, package t-shirts and then driving to FedEx 5 to 10 times on the weekend to ship, the welcome kits to new employees. Sounds like a crazy problem, but this is actually happening, and it's happening across the entire organization. So marketing departments, HR departments, IT departments, they're all struggling with how do we get these products to, again, our prospects, customers, and employees. Just out of curiosity, have any of your portfolio companies run across this challenge? Or have you at Idea Fund or at Fall Furious?
I'll be honest, I have no idea. I mean, we have a 4-person team, so we don't really have any problem with that. But, I haven't heard of any corporates or portfolio companies, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. I just don't know if they're discussing it with us.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. All right, that's fair. So let me go on to the next one. All right, so the platform that we've built provides our customers with a single internal platform for all the departments to basically ship anything with a branded, awesome unboxing experience, whether they're working remotely or in the office. So this is extremely important. A lot of companies were not set up to make drop shipping easy to many different remote addresses. So imagine a company like Avid Exchange that has a couple thousand employees. How do you drop ship all of that stuff to that many different residential addresses at an easy click of the button? So this is the platform we built. It's a web-based product, and let's get to what you guys probably want to see, which is traction and revenue. So from 2014 to 2019, I ran a corporate gifting and marketing B2B firm. We had a lot of professional sports teams and big corporate brands as clients. At the end of 2019, we kind of saw the writing on the wall where the industry is going, which is, people don't want to pick up the phone and call you to order widgets. We live in the age of Amazon. People want to point, click, and things just show up magically. So we launched our own platform really as a beta and a test with Craftum in January. Built some pretty decent pipeline from January till March. Had about 300K in pipeline, and then the entire country went remote, and most of that pipeline evaporated when people realized, how are we going to ship this stuff to people? We don't know where they're sitting anymore. So pretty much over a weekend, we built this product called Pick, which allows companies to very easily send really any type of widget to someone, no matter where they're working, whether in the office, working from home, or working from a cabana somewhere. So from basically the onset of the pandemic through summer, we really started taking off. So our first enterprise account we landed was Hitachi Vantara. It's a huge B2B software company. You can see by June, these were some of the customers that we landed, a lot of San Francisco B2B tech companies. And from June through December 31st, we really, just generated a lot of revenue. So close to $1 million in sales. Our profit on products sold, 70%. Our overall net profitability is about 30 right now. Any questions on that so far?
I'm going to say they're going to go ahead and let you go. Yeah, because you got 45 seconds.
Okay. All right. All right. So this is some of our, these are some of the logos that we've landed. Our strongest traction has been in the mid market. So the 1,000 to 2,000 size, 1,000 to 2,000 employee size companies. Our enterprise accounts is definitely our fastest growing. So you'll see some of these logos: Hitachi, NetApp, Business Insider. These deals just take longer. And up until January 1st, I was the only one doing sales to these accounts. Like I mentioned before, our goal is to capture the entire company's widget spend. So revenue team, sales, marketing, customer success, HR, IT, and ops teams, which we just launched in December. The platform, sorry.
All right, and that's time. Sorry, Caleb, we've got that 6-minute format, and now we're gonna have some time for some Q&A and feedback questions. So, Chris, Rob.
Sure, I'm happy to kick it off. I mean, I guess I'd start by saying, like, there's obviously something here because you have a relatively impressive customer list, and you know, let's just take the June to December. You've got a $1.7 million annualized run rate, and you're able to, I guess, per this, generate 30% net profit off of that. So the combination of those three things that's like the smoke, I guess, if you will. I'm like, well, there's obviously something of value here.
Right.
I got to be honest, I don't know what it is right now, right? I think that it took me a while to understand exactly what the problem you were solving is. I think there's a very succinct way to do so. I really don't know. I guess the other thing is it's hard for me to really get a sense of this market. So I found myself curious, like, how many of these companies exist? How many times per day I would be curious, like, even if you just took someone like Hitachi or Passport, how many times a day or a week or whatever it is, what's the cadence? Like, how often does something like this happen, right? Like, I could imagine, like, I mean, I worked at Lowe's and I'm sure we sent computers and onboarding and all kinds of stuff. I have no earthly idea how often that occurs, but taking a step back right now, understanding that people are working from a distributed workforce, I could totally get that problem. I do think that I would be curious, like, I don't know who's doing, like, how that's getting accomplished today. Is that through traditional 3PL? Is there an internal team for these companies that are just like working that together? And what's the pain point of that solution? What's so hard for them? Is it keeping up with where people are working from? Is it just the manual nature because their systems are not set up to distribute to all these and treat them like vendors? Like, is it the warehousing? Like, I guess I'm still a little bit confused by where the, like, real pain is. But in the end, like, it's obvious that it exists because in a real short period of time, you're generating a decent amount of profitable revenue from some teams. So I think that's probably just a real big encapsulation of probably where I'm sitting right now. Rob, I'll let you kind of jump in.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Cal. So one thing, I know you wanted to make the pitch conversational. You know, I purposely didn't respond to either of your questions because there were so many things that I wanted to hear, and I knew you only had 6 minutes. So just keep that in mind. If we had a 15-minute pitch, or if we were sitting around a table, I think it would be more conducive to the conversational pitch. I have a feeling that that's probably your style, Kelvin, and I get it, because look, it's a lot easier to pitch when you can interact with who you're pitching to, but I just think this format makes that difficult. And so, you honed in on the problem in traction. I get that. Again, I cheated last night and went out to your website. So I have a little bit understanding as to how you make money, what your revenue model is, but you really didn't touch on it much in the pitch itself. So some areas that I think you missed. Number one is your overall team. Now, look, your name is, I know your name in the entrepreneurial circles in Charlotte over several years. I think I even saw one of your previous products with it might have even been with the Bobcats before they were the Hornets, but doing the custom boxes. But I think you need to talk about that. You've been a successful entrepreneur in Charlotte. Let's hear a little bit more about that and the team around you. Like Chris, I know there's a problem here. The area that I think would be interesting with this remote workforce, if you could, get a Google, if you are, shipping out not only welcome kits, but the computers and the whole home office setup, that could be really interesting in a really big market. And I think that's maybe where you're going. And of course, then the first thing I'm saying is, well, how is the sausage made? If you're having to ship computers out and all that kind of stuff, how does it work in the back office where you're aggregating, or, are you keeping an inventory of laptops that you're having to send out? And so again, probably not enough time in a 6-minute pitch, but I think there's something there, and that these big companies could pay a monthly subscription for you to be the fulfillment arm to set up their home offices, their employee home offices. And I think that's part of your revenue model here. A couple other things, just, how big is the market? What is your ask? So those are some of the other things that I would touch on in this 6 minutes. But yeah, I'm kind of like Chris. I'm left here going, there is something here. You have some really good traction in 6-month period of time. But I don't know if it's a gift. I don't know if it's the corporate model that we just talked about. Maybe it's all of the above, and your platform facilitates that. So those are my thoughts.
And given that traction, I am curious, what is the ask? Since I am an investor and you are in my sweet spot with traction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I just didn't get to everything in here. I probably should have condensed the first part. So we've got, information here about the marketplace, the team, and then our ask. Sorry, I'm having a hard time here with my, so the ask is basically 10% for 1.2. The way we got to that figure was one of our competitors that focus solely on the revenue side. So all they're doing is selling to marketing, sales, customer success teams. They raised 10.7 with their first round, and then another 40 million on just a traditional direct mailing model. So no remote model at all. I think they've since introduced that, but we've been able to snag some of their accounts because they did not have that when the pandemic first started. So we would use the capital to hire sales, build out our customer success and marketing teams, customer acquisition, and then developing our platform beyond the MVP and just-in-time warehousing.
Okay. Can you go through that team really quick? I'm just curious who's on that.
Yeah, and Caleb, it looks like all the stuff that I said was potentially missing is there. So I think in that 6 minutes, man, just get through all these slides.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll try to condense that. It's a little bit too long up front. So yeah, Chris, to answer the question on the team. So Glenn is our COO. I was really lucky to hire him. He's run some pretty large companies. He ran a large steel company. Last business, some people might be familiar with, is Buffalo Jackson. He was the CEO there. He really believed in what we're doing and decided to come on to kind of, we subscribe to the EOS model, a visionary and integrator. Glenn's an awesome integrator, and it frees me up to do kind of what I'm good at, which is the selling, the marketing, and building the platform. Liz is our marketing manager, has about 5 years in B2B marketing, previously with Inventus Partners. Caleb Sherman is our designer and print production. Has been with me 2 years through Musser, started with the professional sports business and is now transferred over to Craftum. We just hired our first account executive, Wesley, which is super exciting. He's got 4 years of B2B SaaS sales experience. and actually closed one of our competitors as account and used their platform to sell more with his company. Lindsay's our procurement and sourcing specialist. We just hired Candace as our customer success specialist, and then Chris is our SDR, who basically was funneling me leads, now funneling Wesley and I leads to close.
Awesome.
We still have a few minutes, Chris and Rob, if you had any other final questions, or if you wanted to have Caleb go over anything else.
Or allow questions from the audience.
Okay, perfect. We can go to that.
I don't know if there's any specifics for Caleb, but.
I know a lot of people liked your background, Caleb. That was a conversation earlier. Your background of your presentation, but let's see here.
All right, so anybody who has any questions for Caleb, you can go ahead and drop those in the chat. We've got one here from Samir. Can you repeat your traction? What is your traction on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did close to $1 million in sales in 2020, with the bulk of that revenue coming from June through December. We're primarily helping. This is a kind of an important point. To date, we've primarily have been helping revenue teams, helping them send all kinds of things to their prospects and customers. Where our fastest growing market, though, is HR, and I think it was Rob that mentioned it. The IT side is really where you look at a competitor like CDW, it's $18 billion company, and they're, supplying, computers, office printers, that kind of thing. So this kind of device management side of things we think that these two channels within an account are actually going to eventually dwarf the revenue side of the house.
Great. Well, I see Rob is adding his 8 points that he looks for here to the chat. If anybody has any other questions here for Caleb while we wrap this up.
And I will be copying these, and we will have those tweeted out as well for his 8 points that he looks for.
Can I ask Rob and Chris a quick question about just our ask?
Yeah, of course.
What do you got? What is just kind of your first thought about the valuation and the ask? I mean, does it seem reasonable?
Standing at a point of ignorance on what these kind of businesses trade at, it's not offensive. So 12, you're asking for 1.2 at 12 posts, that's 10.8 pre. If I were to, again, annualize your last half revenue, and let's say we called it that, then you're tracking. So it's like, that's what, 1.8. So that doesn't strike me as a crazy multiple, but that's, again, coming from a point of complete ignorance where I have no idea what similar companies trade for, but it's not bonkers. I've certainly seen a lot crazier.
Yeah, I'd just be interested in Sendeso. What were their metrics in order to raise 10.7? So sometimes I think people get caught up on the valuation by comparing their small company with, a much larger company, and you got to take scale into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. So last we checked, they're doing about 45 ARR. So yeah, and the fact that we were able to steal some of their accounts when it was pretty much like me and just a couple people. I think that's pretty telling. We're offering something that they're not to the market. Was our thought.
Awesome. And I think with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you've got any questions, feel free to hop into the breakout rooms afterwards, where you get a chance to meet with a lot of the presenters, the pitchers today, and ask them questions. But that wraps up the pitch portion. So Rob, Chris, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate your insights, your questions, and for being on here. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for joining, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that wraps up the pitches. And I do want to make a quick announcement here. Innovate Charlotte, for anybody who is not familiar, Innovate Charlotte is an organization that has a mentorship program. If you are interested in becoming a mentor to a local startup, or if you are a founder and are looking to get mentored by a mentorship team, then you can find more information at inclt.org. And go ahead and sign up for that newsletter because there's a lot of new programs coming out of Innovate Charlotte here in the next couple months. So I highly recommend you check that out. All right, up next, we're going to have the breakout rooms, and we're going to have 4 rooms. So you're going to automatically be put into a breakout room. And then if you want to move to a different room,